Chris the Freelancer, an accountant that transitioned into a Shopify web developer that now enjoys his life as a digital nomad in Bali. He shares how he found success in his niche and the steps he took to achieve this lifestyle. Here are his insights and why choosing the right skill set might be the key to achieve your digital nomad dream. Who are you and what do you do?
Hi, I'm Chris. I do web development for Shopify websites, and I'm also a content creator as well.
Oh, what channels do you create content on?
I have a lifestyle channel about the digital nomad lifestyle called Chris the Freelancer, and then a spin-off channel based on what I do for work, which is the Shopify web development, on a different channel called Code with Chris the Freelancer. So I do tutorials on that channel. And then I've also got a course on how to be a Shopify theme developer and all the skills that go into that.
Interesting. And how much do you make as a Shopify developer?
The range I give people is like anywhere from $50 to $150 an hour. So some other developers will tell you it's hard to make money as a web developer, as a freelancer, but it's all about the niche and the marketing and the positioning. So I did struggle a little bit before I found the niche of Shopify. And then once I found the niche of Shopify, I was dealing with store owners that, I mean, if you're in e-commerce, you're making money directly from your website. So they're more likely to invest in their own website and tend to value web development more. Whereas if you're just building a basic website for like a realtor or somebody that doesn't really need their website to do anything, it can be less valuable of a skill set.
That makes sense. And why did you want to become a digital nomad?
Oh man, I guess I caught the travel bug doing a study abroad in the US, and about 10 years ago now, I was in LA for 6 months, and I just had experiences in the US that I've never had in my home city, and I just was always bored of my home city. So actually I was just looking for ways that I could live abroad and still have a career, right? Which is hard when you're just starting out, and I was still at university, and then I discovered about this thing called digital nomad, and I just jumped headfirst into it straight away, and like within a year after discovering the term, I was like already traveling.
So what did you study then?
My degree is unrelated to web development. It was accounting, and I actually did a bunch of internships, and I was like, it was a depressing year of my life, to be honest. 2015, I was like doing internships, and I was like, I don't actually want to do this career, but I don't want to be broke or remain a waiter, you know, so like I guess I'll just suck it up and be a corporate slave. And then I found out about like digital nomad life, and I was like, okay, I'm easily quitting this and doing this instead.
All right, what was your first step to get into this lifestyle? Like, where did you learn the things that you learned?
Yeah, I guess the first thing, obviously, as you know, is you need a skill to monetize. You need to be able to do that skill remotely. And so I looked at the digital nomad career paths at that time, and the one that suited me the most, I felt, is web development. And there's a huge distinction between even back end and front end, right? So my first job was in back end, and didn't enjoy that, and that was like very discouraging. I was like, maybe I'm not meant to be a developer. But then I did more front end. I'm like, this is more my thing. And then a journey on top of that to get to the niche of Shopify. And now I just have only done Shopify sites for the last 5 years, just because it's such a good niche for freelancing.
All right, and from all the places you've been to, why did you choose Barley?
You know, it's the network and just the fact that it's set up perfectly for digital nomad lifestyle. And there's literally everything you could imagine. I mean, like even like music scenes, like there's so many Afro beats parties, but then there's so many house music parties. And then there's like, you can go get your cheesy, you know, top 40 music at the club as well, if you're into that. Music scene, diversity of everything. It's a melting pot here. And, you know, it's not expensive to live here comparatively to most of the world. And for me personally as well, it's pretty close to Australia. So for all of those things combined, it just had the ideal balance of everything, you know.
Can you walk us through of a typical day in your life?
Oh, that's hard to do when you like work for yourself, and you can really construct a routine one day and then change it the next day. Or I use Notes a lot and Notion to like map out my day, because you are running your own life when you have this level of freedom. And that can actually be a negative thing, having this much level of freedom, because if you don't know what to do with it, you can get kind of analysis paralysis, right? So to answer your question, what's an average day? At the moment, I'm very work focused. So I get up in the morning and I go basically straight to the co-working space, the best one in Bali, B-Work, shout out B-Work. And I am planning on traveling to Brazil again next year. So I start the day with some Portuguese practice or like study. And then I go straight into work, lunch, then I usually break in the afternoon to go to the gym with you. And I play paddle once a week on Saturdays. But yeah, very work focused at the moment. But other times I've been more focused on like going to cool places and creating content there, or I have a friend in town, so I have to do some tourist activities with them or go on some adventures. Yeah, you can get lost in the sauce here, you know, go clubbing every night or go to waterfalls during the day, but then you can also really get stuck into work as well.
What about like cost of living? Like how much are you spending in a month here in Barley?
Yes, I don't want to scare anyone because I've compared my spending to a lot of people here, and I spend too much apparently, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
And it's like 3,000 euros if you were to put it into euros a month.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So a lot of people, so that's the reaction I get usually. And I don't know, I mean, you've seen me eat. Every time I eat like for 2 people in one meal. You know what I mean?
Big money.
So like spend over like, I guess in euros or dollars would be like over $700 a month in food. My rent is about in US dollars $740, I believe. And then what else am I spending on? I don't know. I've like looked at the spreadsheet a bunch of times, and
parties,
not too often.
alcohol.
I mean, alcohol would be under $100, 100 euros. But yeah, I'm not sure where it's all going. Paddle's not cheap, you know.
Makes sense.
And they keep raising the price too, so it costs like more than $15 just to join a tournament, and then you got to hire the racket and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It ends up being like around at least to like 5,000 Australian dollars, which I think in euros and USD is around like 3,000, 3,500 or something.
Makes sense. As long as you make enough money to support it, why not? Living your best life. And maybe the last question is like, if somebody's watching right now and they're thinking of becoming a digital nomad, what would be your advice with all your experience be? And if you could start over again, you know, what would the things be that you would do it like step by step?
It can be very simple or it can be very complicated, you know, like there's certain people out there that like already are working remotely, or at least I used to meet these people and they're already working remotely and they're like, oh, I can just do this from Bali. So for those people, you just book the ticket and you go. Like there's not much things, like it's more of like, oh, I realize that there's nothing stopping me, right? For other people, I say probably for most people, it's like the career, the remote income that they're needing to build. And I guess from my own experience, I guess the mistake I made was rushing into it. I was so keen to get started that I didn't establish myself as much as I possibly could before traveling. But yet again, it all worked out in the end anyway, so it just took a little bit, I guess, you know, a little bit of struggle once I was on the road. But I mean, the benefit of being like, of traveling is like, say for instance, you come from Belgium or Australia, you can move to somewhere like Bali or Thailand and your costs are lower. So if you want a longer runway to building your business, you probably have to quit your job or take on some like remote side. So it might be too much pressure than if you just built up a side hustle while working at your job. But yeah, I'm not really giving you a straight answer, but it's going to be different for every person, and it's all about like freeing yourself up. You know, you might have family commitments or you might have debts or anything. So just think of anything that's weighing you down, and like figure out a strategy to, you know, give yourself freedom in those areas, whether it's like financial or you know, even a relationship could be holding you back to where you're living, you know.
So what do you think are the best careers to get into if you want to become a digital nomad besides becoming a Shopify web developer?
First of all, I'll say that there's so many ways to make money, and we're seeing a lot of people, especially since the pandemic, making money in all sorts of obscure ways. I mean, we have a mutual friend that like does casino affiliate marketing. Like there's anything, you know, you can think of. AI is huge right now, but I recently created a little class for Skillshare, and I didn't put AI as one of the main categories because it hasn't really established itself yet, but it's booming if you can take advantage of that AI boom right now. But the 4 main areas I see that are ideal for digital nomad life are some kind of like coaching or consulting, digital marketing, digital design, and then some kind of coding, so web development or software development. I believe that web development and software development is the best. Just by its very nature, it's super remote. Like even if I was working next to someone in an office back home, I'd still be pushing my code to GitHub, which is on the cloud. We'd still be talking on Slack or some sort of messaging system, which is on the cloud. Like everything needs to be tracked and on the cloud anyway. So the nature of that work is very suited to remote work, but the same can be said for, you know, people in digital marketing, people in digital design. And the only issue with like coaching and consulting is possibly time zones. You know, you need to physically not be in a physical location, but physically be there at a time, you know, unless you've got it set up that you have your coaching program is more text-based and like asynchronous. But if you're like taking coaching calls or even sales calls, a lot of people do high-ticket sales, then you need to be taking calls at a certain time of the day. Obviously, that limits you in terms of, going to a co-working space, and couldn't use the concentration room, which is the quiet room at BWork, because you kind of need to be in private for those things. So yeah, but those are the 4 categories I would say. If you're looking for established careers, even if you're working in a major city or working as a digital nomad, those careers aren't going to go away. So those are a good place to start looking into and just seeing kind of personality you are, because I was definitely more of a developer type than I am a designer or a marketer.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, by the way, if you like this video, you probably also like this video.